With the success of Jedi Fallen Order, it was clear that a sequel was on the horizon, and Respawn Entertainment was given the okay by EA to begin development. Fallen Order had built a strong foundation that could be expanded upon in a future installment. With the same development team and the previous cast returning to reprise their roles, Jedi Survivor was announced in 2022, launching on the next generation of consoles. Jedi Survivor would take full advantage of the new hardware, allowing for faster loading screens and ray tracing being included. In January 2022, Jedi Survivor was announced to be in development, and the first trailer was unveiled at Star Wars Celebration in May, with the game releasing on April 28, 2023 for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series X. If you research Jedi Survivor's development, you'll find articles that discuss how quickly it was developed in only 3 years, not helping that Respawn had to develop Jedi Survivor during the pandemic, and having to deal with pressure from EA. It's incredible Respawn was able to get the game released on time. I want to preface for this video, I played the PC version, which at launch was the worst version. You can look up how poorly optimized the PC version was, but as of 2024, I can say it's better optimized. However, I would recommend you proceed with caution and make sure your PC is up to date with the latest hardware, because even despite the patches, I did have moments where the game crashed on me or cases of notable graphical bugs. I didn't mention this in my Fallen Order video because I think it's more appropriate to wait until Survivor, but these two games are glorified console ports. Now in the case of Fallen Order, I don't think it was a big deal. The game runs fine, and if you don't like mouse and keyboard, the game provides controller support. The same applies to Jedi Survivor. However, what separates the two is Survivor's rushed development and poor optimization. In fact, every time you boot up Survivor, the game has to spend time optimizing the PC files. Alongside Jedi Survivor's $70 price tag, I'd figured I'd start this video with that public service announcement. That way you guys can make an informed decision. So with that out of the way, I figured we'd not waste any time and head into the plot synopsis. 5 years after Fallen Order, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis has spent his time battling the Empire and growing a luxurious beard. Captured on Coruscant and being led to a corrupt senator looking to use Cal to gain favor with the Emperor, Cal manages to break free because, as it turns out, Cal was acting as a decoy. While on his way to the senator's yacht, Cal works alongside his new companions, the most notable being Bode Akuna, a stand-up single father trying to provide a better life for his daughter Kata. Cal and Bode manage to regroup with the team and infiltrate the senator's yacht. Inside contains information on Imperial strongholds, but Cal learns that despite all his efforts, the Empire has only grown stronger. Not coming all this way for nothing, Cal and his team make their escape, except they're intercepted by Imperial forces led by the Ninth Sister, harboring a bigger hate boner towards Cal. And after battling and defeating the Ninth Sister for good, Cal and Bode manage to escape Coruscant. As for the others, well, after escaping Coruscant, Cal decides to head for the Outer Rim planet of Kobo. We learn that in between games, the Mantis crew have gone their own way. Sierra reunited with her master Cordova, who turned out to be alive. Marin went off exploring the galaxy, and Grease established his own cantina on Kobo. BD-1 is still with Cal because he's the best. Arriving at Kobo, Cal notices a nebula that will be important later. When Cal arrives at Grease's cantina, he helps the locals with a band of raiders called the Bedlam Raiders, led by Ravis, a Gendai warrior who's able to regenerate his limbs, making him nigh invincible. After their confrontation, Cal reunites with Grease, and after Grease tells Cal how to repair the Mantis, Cal falls into a cave and discovers an old droid active during the time of the High Republic, an era of peace and scientific discovery for the Jedi. Cal learns from the droid, nicknamed Z, that her master, Centauri Kree, discovered a planet inside the Kobo Abyss, named Tanalorr, a paradise world isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Cal, after managing to help Z, points him towards an abandoned forest array. Once Cal arrives and manages to traverse to the top of the array, he discovers a Jedi Knight imprisoned in a Bacta tank since the High Republic. Cal, peering into his memories, learned that his name is Dagan Gera, and that he was involved in Tanalorr's discovery. Cal, freeing him, then gives him a crash course on what's happened to the galaxy, to which Dagan takes it pretty well. And by that I mean he immediately falls to the dark side, monologuing about how the Jedi betrayed him. In hindsight, it seemed like a good idea. After he and Cal battle, Dagan manages to get away with the help of Ravis, who was searching for Dagan all this time. Cal rendezvous with Grease and Bode, who came to Kobo off-screen, decides to pursue Dagan and reach Tanalorr before he does, believing that Tanalorr is the key to escaping the Empire. Along the way, Cal will overcome challenges and reunite with his allies, discovering his purpose in the galaxy. So what's changed with Jedi Survivor? Well, a lot, and then some. Level design is more complex and will test Cal and his abilities, old and new. Rather than small linear worlds, Jedi Survivor boasts more complicated level design, allowing for more exploration. If you go out of your way to explore areas, you'll find plenty of upgrades and cosmetic items. I did praise Fallen Order's linear design because they created a lot of replayability, and I still hold that opinion. Jedi Survivor is able to expand on that design in a way a sequel should. Each area and planet you explore still offers their own unique aesthetic and challenges. There are still shortcuts to make backtracking easy, but now Cal can fast travel between meditation points. In the opening on Coruscant, Cal obtains the Ascension Cable. It acts as a grappling hook, allowing Cal to traverse large gaps or cling onto distant objects. To shoot the cable, you'll have to get close to the grapple point and wait for the circle to fill up. A later upgrade allows Cal to hook onto these floating balloons and use them to gain a boost of momentum. If you hold down the button, Cal can alter his trajectory, allowing him to control his movement. Cal's other new abilities include jumping between walls and jumping against the wall. You can't do these abilities everywhere, as they're displayed with white markings. Like in Fallen Order, there will be moments when Cal will remember his training with Seer, unlocking an air dash for platforming and a convenient way to travel faster. Later in that section, Marin will give Cal the ability to dash past green gates. Cal's double jump and dash are resetted, making platforming much easier. All of Cal's new abilities greatly expand his arsenal. Like Fallen Order, there will be times when areas won't be accessible until you have the corresponding ability. But if you've played Fallen Order, you understand that backtracking is part of the game. And with the inclusion of fast travel, accessing new areas is done quickly. When using the map hovering over an area, the map will display how much of the area you've explored, with different markings acting as what's interactable. Force shards and chests make their return. Force echoes have seen an overhaul where instead of collecting 3 to obtain an upgrade, they've been more scattered and will give smaller boosts to Cal's health or force. Chests continue holding cosmetic items, and they can be found like previously or at a shop using materials you find as currency. The main types of materials you'll find are Priorite, Jedi Scrolls, and Holodiscs. Each shop sells different items ranging from cosmetics to equipable perks. You'll also come across Force Echoes. Interacting with these, have Cal perform a trial, whether it's an obstacle course or an arena. Completing these will reward Cal with skill points. After rescuing Z, her shop will open where you can purchase perks. Perks are a new feature that can augment Cal's abilities. Each perk costs a certain amount of slots, so you have to pick which ones you want carefully. When you arrive at Grease's Cantina, Pyloon Saloon, you'll notice that the place isn't doing well and could use more customers. When you're exploring, you'll come across NPCs looking for help. Helping them will have them return to Pyloon Saloon while they'll liven the place up. Besides making small talk, there's a reason you want to help the locals and hear their problems. When you approach a certain NPC, they'll give you a rumor to investigate. Rumors act as your side quest. Rumors will be displayed on your map with a general area of interest Cal will have to investigate. Some rumors will reward you with new upgrades by completing a puzzle or defeating a mini-boss. They're honestly very simple to do, and they won't take you so long. Some of these NPCs are completely inconsequential, however it's good to know Cal is helping Grease obtain new customers. Out of all of them, my favorite character is Scuba Skeeve. He helps clean the aquarium and goes fishing for new fish. When you're exploring and near a body of water, you can approach him where he'll speak about what fish he's catching, then after catching it, he'll tell a story about his past. And they're charming to say the least. His Scottish accent and tiny stature don't help either. I also like the DJ you meet because you can change the song currently playing while in Pyloons, and obviously I'm going to play the throat music constantly. Another tenant at Pyloons you'll meet is the bounty hunter Cage. She'll task Cal with defeating members of the returning Haxian Brood. The Haxian Brood are located in specific areas, and you'll have to travel there to defeat them and collect a bounty token. The bounty tokens act as currency for Cage's shop. After you dismantle their organization, Cage side quest ends with a boss fight and an obligatory movie reference. Puzzles also make their return, and Gon are pushing and pulling balls. On Cal's visit to the forest array, Cal will encounter Kobo Matter, a poisonous energy that can be condensed in spheres, and when connected to a mechanism, create a ray of energy. You'll be using the Force to push and pull Kobo balls into mechanisms to reveal a path. Cal will obtain an upgrade for BD1, allowing him to shoot Kobo Matter. At the end of a Kobo ray, Cal can create a line of matter that ignites on contact. When you draw a line to a set of vines, the fire will ignite, revealing new paths or secrets. BD1 also gets an electric dart ability that allows BD1 to shoot darts at electric grids far away. You'll use it to open chests and unlock new traversable paths. The more complex puzzles are now relegated to the new High Republic chambers. They're scattered around Koboh, and you can enter them to solve puzzles and obtain a reward. They're not particularly challenging as long as you put your brain to work. As for customization, it's seen a complete overhaul in Jedi Survivor. You can now customize Cal's appearance from head to toe. That means giving Cal the most unlikely appearance that you wouldn't want to be seen in public with. I do think this is a great addition because it all comes down to personal taste, and on the bright side, the poncho makes its appearance. As for lightsaber customization, you'll be able to customize everything from the color of the blade to its appearance. Except this time, Cal can customize both of his blades by each component. BD1 also saw a similar overhaul, so it's good he wasn't left out. When you unlock the blaster stands, you'll be able to do the same thing. So if you want a golden blaster and cosplay as Scaramanga, go right ahead. The combinations you can create are left to your imagination. Going back to exploration, Koboh is meant to serve as the main planet, and during your journey, you'll be returning to Koboh multiple times. A good comparison would be Hyrule Field from Ocarina of Time. Thankfully, you can use the new Animal Buddies feature. Approach a Neko or a Welter. Cal can use them to get around faster or as a glide to reach further areas. Nekos are great if you're item hunting on Koboh and want to travel faster. I thought that the Welter's inverted controls were too heavy, and you won't get a lot of air unless in one section you use gusts of wind to gain altitude. There was never a point in Survivor where I felt an area overstayed its welcome. Jedi Survivor still contains Fallen Order's gameplay loop, and with the improvements in level design, each trip offers a new challenge and secrets to uncover. The only criticism I have is that the locales besides Jeddah are pretty forgettable, like the Shattered Moon or ISB base. Koboh is great because it has that Wild West aesthetic, and that one section of Jeddah looks like the city of Petra. Now, does this translate to lightsaber combat? For starters, Cal has become more powerful with the Force. He's no longer the scared Padawan from Fallen Order, and combat has gotten much faster. The fundamentals are still there. You still have to deplete the enemy's defense by either attacking or countering their attacks. However, with Cal's added maneuverability, Cal can easily jump over an enemy and attack from behind, or use his dash to avoid larger enemies. Cal still retains his abilities from Fallen Order, and at the beginning, he starts with single and double bladed, unlocking more stances throughout his journey. The upgrade tree has seen an expansion. This time, abilities are separated into different areas. Cal can spend skill points from his different stances, survival skills, and force upgrades. At any point, you can reset your skill tree if you want to respec Cal's abilities. The first hit's free, ironically enough. However, each time you do it, it'll cost skill points. During my playthrough, I did it because as Cal expanded his arsenal, I wanted to spec in abilities that fit my playstyle. I'll quickly go over Cal's force abilities as they've seen minor changes. Cal's force meter still functions the same it did in Fallen Order. Cal can push and pull enemies alongside his other abilities, with each use draining the meter, and gain it back by defeating enemies. However, now Cal possesses a super meter that fills up at the bottom of the screen. When unleashed, Cal will slow down time in the surrounding area, and a later upgrade allows him to tap into the dark side. I love this ability because Cal makes quick work of all the enemy types, from battle droids to dark troopers, because it negates their defenses. Even its base form is still great. I'm glad Respawn changed this because if you remember in my Fallen Order video, my nitpick with Force Stasis was you were too vulnerable to attacks as it charged up. Having it be delegated to a super means you can get the full use of it. Also at the start, Cal can perform the Jedi Mind Trick, and learn other Force abilities like being able to pull down or toss an object in the air for a brief period of time. The Jedi Mind Trick can be used to turn enemies against each other, or by tricking stormtroopers during certain points.
You're not worth my time, scum. It's easier to let you through. Sir? TK-783 to base command. Lower the shield. What? Wait, what?
For Cal's other abilities, at first you use it to solve puzzles and clear droids. However, later upgrades allow Cal to use it against enemies. I didn't use it a lot during my playthrough because I was at the end game by the time I unlocked it. You can still block and counterattack, however the stamina meter now has bars depending on what stance you use. Enemies will still glow red when you can't counter them, but Cal's maneuverability makes it trivial. As for Cal's lightsaber skills, I'll preface this section by saying that at the end of the day, whatever stance you choose comes down to personal playstyle. Each stance has its own strengths and weaknesses, and I'd argue there's no definitive best stance. It's all subjective. I should also note that you're allowed only to use 2 stances at a time, because I don't think this game can handle the combos players will perform. This game has enough technical issues. The first stance you'll have is single-bladed. It's still the same utilitarian stance it was in Fallen Order. The combos are easy to perform, and its upgrades give more versatility and power to Cal's attacks. In all my sessions, I always had single-bladed equipped. It's a great stance to fall back on when groups of enemies prevented me from performing the more flashy attacks, or if I needed more consistency when battling enemies. So I have nothing bad to say about single-bladed. It's a great stance, and you should use it. Double-bladed makes its return with notable balance changes. This time around, Respawn has heavily gone into the group combat theme. When you start a combo with double-bladed, you have to wind up the blade, and take into account your spacing. Once you're going, you can easily destroy a weaker enemy's shield, or if you get behind stronger enemies, deal massive amounts of damage in a short period of time. It pairs really well with Force Stasis, and if you get the upgrade where enemies are still affected even after taking damage, you'll melt them with double-bladed's combos. Against larger enemies is where double-bladed is weakest because you have to treat it like a wind-up toy. Enemies will retaliate and reposition even if you get behind them. Double-bladed does have a learning curve, especially if you're used to it in Fallen Order's controls. It was the stance I used the least in my playthrough because I wanted to get footage of the other stances. Moving on to the new stances, our first being Dual Wield. You unlock it during your fight with the Ninth Sister. It's a fast, aggressive style meant to overwhelm your enemies at their most vulnerable. Be warned because Dual Wield has the least amount of defense, and if you're not careful, enemies will quickly stagger Cal. However, if you use Dual Wield like it was meant to be used, using Cal's speed and time parries, Dual Wield can destroy weaker enemies and deal massive damage to bosses in quick pace. One of my favorite moves is Viper Throw. Cal will charge both sabers and toss them at groups of enemies, bouncing off them. A great stance early on because it allows you to understand Survivor's reworked combat. After your first trip to Jeddah, Bode will give Cal one of his blasters, unlocking Blaster Stance. Blaster Stance utilizes a combination of a lightsaber and blaster. On the left side of the screen will display Cal's ammo meter. You can fire the blaster to deal damage normally, or use the alternate fire to fire a charge shot. Each shot will deplete ammo with the charge shot requiring 2 bolts. You can refill the ammo by damaging or defeating enemies, and later upgrades also include parrying and dodging. Blaster's effectiveness comes from combining lightsaber attacks and blaster shots in your combos. Once you get an enemy's health low enough, you can quickly follow up with a blaster shot or use the charge shot to knock an enemy back. Do yourself a favor and unlock the charge shot upgrade from Cage's shop. Another use of blaster is it's great for dealing with probe droids or jet troopers. It's a stance that requires a lot of finesse to get the most of it, but it is a lot of fun once you get the hang of it. However, my favorite stance is the last you obtain after defeating a mini-boss, the Crossguard. It's basically a greatsword that shreds enemies with its raw power, and you can hear it with its sound effects.
It just motivates me.
It is slow to use, but it doesn't matter when its attacks combined with the perk Shatter can destroy an enemy's defense in 2 hits. Doesn't matter if it's a Perks Trooper or a Dark Trooper. Crossguard with good timing and spacing deals massive damage. However, you can be overwhelmed by groups of enemies, but Crossguard does offer the best stamina meter, and well-timed parries help as well. 2 upgrades I recommend you get are the Charge Throw and the Blaster Deflect upgrade. As long as you're patient and know when to attack, Crossguard rewards you with high damage and powerful defense. Cal can also be joined by one of his companions. Bode or Marin will offer their help in battle, where you can use one of the buttons to command them to perform special moves. When exploring, there will be moments when you'll need their help to unlock a path. It's only during certain sections, and after that, gameplay returns to normal. As for the enemies you'll encounter, you'll still battle the Empire and its stormtroopers. However, Survivor introduces new variations of stormtroopers, like Riot Shield Troopers, probe droids with grenade launchers, and droids with batons. You'll still encounter Purge Troopers, who haven't changed at all, and can still be pushed off ledges. And Purge Troopers are total pushovers this time around. These guys could be the bane of your existence previously, but now, look at how the mighty have fallen. There are also the new Dark Trooper enemies, and I know they're not called Dark Troopers, but they look the same. These guys can pack a punch and are quick to attack, making parrying difficult. They come equipped with batons and blasters, and as you lower their health, pieces of their chassis will break off, and they'll become more aggressive. The other faction you'll face is the new Bedlam Raiders. The game tries really hard to make them look intimidating, but they're honestly kind of a joke when it comes to combat and their design. They use these weird electric pitchforks to stun and grab Cal. Other variants will come with jetpacks where they'll try to charge Cal with the aforementioned pitchforks or a flamethrower. However, the Raiders will augment their forces by utilizing old battle droids from the Clone Wars. From B1 battle droids to even droidicas you'll have to contend with. Like stormtroopers, B1 droids are meant to be cannon fodder, going down on only 1 hit. B2 droids like to shoot from afar or launch missiles. A good tip is to force push the missiles back at them to temporarily stun them. Even commando droids make their appearance. They're the most dangerous droid, and they'll use their speed to outmaneuver Cal. Getting behind them will prevent them from blocking and using their agility. Droidekas act just as they do in the prequels. They'll activate their shields and start shooting, forcing you to be defensive. Then they'll roll away, repositioning themselves. A good strategy is to close the gap so you can negate their shields. When exploring, you'll come across mini-bosses making their return. After defeating them, you'll be rewarded with an upgrade or a chest. They can either be stronger animals or raiders equipped with custom lightsabers. The real bosses are related to important plot moments. You'll battle Dagon 3 times, and even Darth Vader once, and this time he has a health bar. I've been going on about the gameplay, and that's because Jedi Survivor improves what was established in Fallen Order. Fallen Order's combat is fun for its simplicity, and Jedi Survivor excels at its versatility because players can equip Cal to suit their playstyle. I have to give credit to Respawn because gameplay-wise, they have outdone themselves. But does that also apply to the rest of the story? Let's find out. After Cal manages to defeat Ravis and Dagon to retrieve the compass, Cal and Bode return to Jedi ready to escape the Tanalorr with the hidden path. However, at the point of victory, Bode betrays the group, kills Cordova, and gives the location of the base to the Empire. Cal chases Bode down, and it's in their fight that Bode reveals he is also a former Jedi who survived Order 66. Cal is knocked out, and after switching to Cere, Cere battles Darth Vader and dies, with Cal feeling her death through the Force, and after regrouping with Merrin and Grease, the trio decide to chase Bode since he possesses the only path to Tanalorr. Cal manages to find Bode's location on an ISB base, and after infiltrating the base, discovering Bode has been acting as a spy since Coruscant. Cal meets Bode's daughter Kata. It's here we learn Bode's motivation. After surviving Order 66, Bode fell in love and had Kata. But after his wife was killed by an Inquisitor, Bode made a deal with the ISB, acting as an agent in exchange for Kata's safety. Bode, believing Tanalorr was the only way out, betrays Cal because he thought it was a bad idea to give Tanalorr to the hidden path. After their conversation, Bode then decides to make his escape, and after Cal rampages through the base by tapping into the dark side, reunites with Merrin and Grease, still set on chasing after Bode. Cal, returning to Kobo, discovers that by aligning the Kobo arrays, he can still manage to travel to Tanalorr. Deciding this is the only way, Cal, Merrin, and Grease traverse the Kobo Abyss, arriving at Tanalorr. Cal and Merrin head to the Jedi Temple, where they meet Kata again. Upon entering the main chamber, Cal and Bode have their final battle, where Cal is able to defeat Bode after tapping into the dark side again. The story ends with Cal holding a memorial pyre for Cere, Cordova, and Bode. Cal, remembering that every Jedi faces the dark side, is told by a vision of Cere to train Kata in the Force and keep her away from the dark side. Like Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor leaves the narrative open-ended, with Cal and the others' fate unknown. As for what I think of the narrative, one thing I will praise about Jedi Survivor is the maturity of its plot. Cal's character has shown a lot of maturity since Fallen Order. He's grown more confident since accepting his role as a Jedi Knight and confirming his relationship with Merrin. With Cal now looking to train Kata, I'm curious how the third game will tackle their relationship. As for the antagonists, I think Dagon and Ravis were pretty underwhelming, and while they aren't the true antagonists, their motivation can come off as strange on your first playthrough, if you avoided gathering the related Force echoes. I understand Dagon is meant to be a dark mirror to Cal, but his obsession with Tanalorr comes off as strange and childish to the point where he falls to the dark side. At least Anakin and Bode have understandable motivations. Ravis is just meant to be a big bad with a cool design. Going back to Bode, his motivation being to protect his daughter adds a human element to him, and his fallout with Cal shows their different perspectives. Cal wants to use Tanalorr to continue fighting the Empire, while Bode wants to hide and keep Kata safe. In the post-game, you can find Force echoes that show that Bode's friendship with Cal was genuine. Comparing Bode and Trilla, I like Bode more because while Trilla tests Cal's faith, Bode tests Cal's character to the point where Cal will have to struggle against the dark side and train the daughter of the man he killed. As for what the future holds for Cal and the Mantis, once again, we'll have to wait and see. That's basically it for Jedi Survivor. On paper, I think Jedi Survivor does exactly what a sequel should do. It expands on what was established in the previous title by updating the gameplay and progressing the character arcs. However, the biggest tragedy of this game is its poor optimization at launch. It's much better now, but I'll preface this again. If you're going to get the PC version, make sure your hardware is up to date and wait for a sale. I've heard the console versions are the best, so if you have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, getting those versions are probably the better choice. As for now, that's all I have to say. I have plenty of videos for the future, so look forward to that. Thank you for watching, and take care.